So hey everyone, Theo here. It is Bookmas day 14 already, and today the prompt is to talk about the top audiobooks for 2018, and I have a cat playing with the Christmas tree behind me. So we'll have some nice Christmas jingles in the background, I guess. But so in any case, sorry, just saw my cat running around with like a Christmas ornament in its mouth, but okay. So the top audiobooks for 2018. Well, for me this is not very difficult because, well, yeah, I just listened to like, I don't know, 4 audiobooks in 2018, so I will just be mentioning those. I also have like a current audiobook that I'm listening to. I'm probably briefly mentioning it at the end. It also has given me like the idea for maybe a future video for 2019, maybe checking out the statistics on like the best audiobooks for 2018 and listening to like the top 3 or top 5 of these and making up my mind about them. But so yeah, that will be something for in the future if I get around to making this or not. If you're inspired by this idea, definitely go ahead and film it yourself. But so yeah, the 4 audiobooks that I completely finished in 2019 are Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, America for Beginners by Leah Frankie, Less by Andrew Sean Greer, and then I'm currently listening to Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. Now, I really enjoyed almost all of the audiobooks that I listened to this year. Last year there was one that I returned, and another that I didn't necessarily really suit me that much. So I definitely had a positive year in audiobooks this year. I don't necessarily listen a lot to audiobooks. I used to listen a lot more to them because I had like a bigger commute and then I would just listen to them. Now I have a smaller commute, and on the commute now I'm doing my commute by bus. So I'm actually able to read physical books as well, but maybe I should try and change this for 2019 just to get more audiobooks in there. But so yeah. So the first one, Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. So the majority of these actually I was listening to while I was running. So in the beginning of the year, so until May or something, I was still running, and then I made my goal of running a 10K, and then suddenly I stopped running and stopped listening to a lot of audiobooks. But so the majority of these, so 3 out of 5, I finished while running. And so Little Fires Everywhere was one of these. I really enjoyed it. So it's a story about, we kind of follow like 2 families in this, and their different takes on a central point of conflict being there's this Chinese baby that is abandoned, and so the family who are taking her in and who are trying to adopt her are very upset when all of a sudden the original mother of the baby turns up and says, "I made a mistake, I want my baby back." And so the 2 families that we're following are actually not these 2 families, but they are friends of both of these differing parties. So you have the one family which is like the typical perfect rich white family, and then you have the other family which is like a single mother and her child, and so they have different opinions about it. It's about their interrelations, their interactions, and their history, which is slowly unraveled throughout the story. I really liked it. It was very enjoyable, and I will definitely be checking out more by Celeste Ng. The second book that I listened to is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, and like almost everybody, I really thoroughly enjoyed this book. I thought it was masterful at like combining the dark subject matter, the heaviness of the subject matter, and the importance of the subject matter with like a more small light side. So even though the story is basically dealing with some of the most heavily and politically important subject matter of our time, it still manages to do so in a way that doesn't feel heavy, that doesn't feel super politically charged. It seems to be taking it at times at least quite light, which I found to be very nice. And it's not to say that it's like mocking it or anything, or that it's just going on about it as if it's no big deal. It just manages to make that seem less of a heavy, it's not a heavy book, you know, even though the subject matter is super heavy. But in that sense it's definitely a important book because it's also very acceptable, because that makes it very accessible to whole lot of people, a whole lot of book people who would otherwise, if the tone of the book would be too heavy, be like, this is not for me. I already read too much about all these heavy topics on a daily basis in the newspaper, or hear about them all the times on the news. I don't want to be reading about them in my spare time. So this book in that sense is very important because it brings this heavy subject to the masses in a format that they can easily digest. And I absolutely loved it. I'm very much looking forward to Angie Thomas's second novel, On the Come Up, which is coming out in 2019. I'm saying second novel, but I'm actually not sure whether The Hate You Give is her debut or not. If it's her debut, kudos on her. I really, really loved it. If not, that means I just have another book to check out soon. And then the third audiobook that I listened to is Less by Andrew Sean Greer. I actually did not listen to this while I was running, I now imagine. Or maybe in parts I listened to it while running, in parts while biking to work, which I did like 4 times this year, but okay. On those 4 times I listened to this audiobook. So it is a book centered around a author who is he wrote a novel, people liked it, and he's still living off of the proceeds from that novel. Like his next novels never were any big of a success, but he was in a relationship with a very well-known author, and so they're constantly inviting him on panels or anything like that to discuss his take on the secret backstory of that author, I guess. I mean, what that author is like in a relationship, what he is like in his spare time, things like that. But he doesn't want to. However, then when his young ex-lover is about to get married, he uses these invitations as his excuse not to go to the wedding, and so accepts a whole bunch of these and goes on a sort of world tour, going to all of these sort of literary events to which he's been invited. And so I really like this type of story in which you get to go from to very different locations and usually get a lot of the culture of the region in there, which is something that I really enjoy, and which is also something that is important in the 4th audiobook that I listened to this year, which is America for Beginners by Leah Frankie. It's a debut novel. It was and it came out in 2018, and I listened to it on my road trip to the US, so it was very it very much suited our trip a lot, because the story deals with a Bengali widow who sets out to America to actually find out whether her husband was lying to her or not when he told her that their son had died. So their son had come out to them as being gay, and ever since then the relationship had gone they had had 0 contact, and then a year later her husband had told her that he had died. But now that he's dead, she's kind of unsure whether she should have actually believed him when he told her that. So she goes to America to make her way through the country in preparation for showing up on his doorstep and finding out whether he's actually dead. If he's dead, to meet the young guy who, in her cultural belief, stole him from her, corrupted him, turned him into this appalling gay person. So it's very much about the journey of 3 people, because we're also following 2 other characters that go on the trip with her, towards finding themselves and reassessing their outlooks in life, the way they see certain people, the way they see certain topics. It's set in the setting of a travel novel, so we go through different locations in the US, and I really like novels like that, the novels that have a travel element to them, because I just like reading about certain locations. Even if I've already been there, I really like when these things are introduced into stories, just because I like traveling so much, I guess. And then the final book is the one that I'm listening to currently, which is Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I started this on my US trip, as I mentioned already, so I don't really have a long commute anymore, and I usually now read instead of listen on the commute. And so actually I'm just listening to it from time to time at work when I have a mindless task to perform or something, so I can just combine it with with listening to this audiobook. But I have been listening to it a little bit more now because I'm really getting into it, so I'm almost halfway through it now, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I mean, it's his first novel, and so I was kind of interested in seeing whether I don't know, it would be clear that it's his first novel or anything like that. But I definitely don't feel like you don't really get the sense of like, oh, this is an author who still needs to learn his craft or anything like that. Like any other Brandon Sanderson novel, it's got a very original magical system, and it has very nice characters and wonderful chemistry between the characters, and I'm very much intrigued to see where it takes off from at the current point in the story. But so yeah, I will definitely think about that idea I had earlier in the video about maybe listening to the top listens for 2018. There's definitely also a book that I read physically this year, which I normally always listen to the audiobooks for, and I definitely think that I want to give the audiobook a go because I really loved the first 3 audiobooks for that one, and the 4th one, reading it, was a bit of a disappointment. Maybe that's just because the audiobooks are so great for it. But so yeah, maybe you'll see this video coming up somewhere in the coming months. So see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we are looking at, I think, at movie adaptations. Yeah. So, no. Tomorrow's even actually more intriguing. Tomorrow, so in the original setup for Hailey for tomorrow, she is doing a 24-hour book, what do you call that? A 24-hour readathon. I don't think I'm still quite ready for a 24-hour readathon, so I'm not making a tent yet. However, I did deviate from her program earlier on, and now I will be picking up that prompt. So I will be doing the Christmas bookshelf scavenger hunt. And I checked out her video. I'm pretty sure that mine is gonna be a total failure because I don't think I'm gonna be able to find all of the books that she put in as prompts in hers, but we'll see tomorrow what this brings. Hopefully I'll find at least some. I'll definitely be able, definitely be able to spell Santa Claus in books, so check it out tomorrow to see whether I make it past more than one of the challenges. So see you guys tomorrow.